couldn't be prouder of my brother-in-law. I don't think you've ever said that before.
Yeah, that's probably true. Welcome back to another week of the RTF Show. Week 1 in the books. 6 winners, 6 losers. Brother John, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Really regretting sticking with CJ Stroud, but other than that, I'm excited for the season. It's begun. I'm feeling pretty good. We got lots to talk about, though. I feel like we had a pretty strong week as far as teams coming out and then playing pretty hard, and we've got some risers and fallers to discuss.
We do.
First, reaction.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. First order of business, a big congratulations and shout out to Duncan, who first week in the league, first game, gets his first victory of his career in the RTFL. A great showing by him. It was a hard fought game for him. He didn't blow the doors off anybody, but an 83-76 victory, close game against Josh, and he pulls it out. Really couldn't be prouder of my brother-in-law. Way to go. Overcomes a Bo Nix dud.
That's the first time you've ever uttered that sentence. I couldn't be prouder of my brother-in-law. I don't think you've ever said that before.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Funny. It sounded natural. Like, it sounded really good.
Yeah, that's true. But it's not like I have an unlimited number of brother-in-laws either. I've only got a couple. 3 to be exact. All right.
Good amount.
So big ups to Duncan. Way to go. We will I think we'll revisit Duncan's team in a little bit. But second order of business. We had a week 1 contest built into the. I don't remember if we highlighted it last week, but there is a weekly contest in week 1. It is the Finish Him contest. John, without further ado, who was the week 1 contest winner?
Somebody who won, I believe, quite a few contests last year. Won his Division 2 last year. Alec, Theo's dad.
Yeah.
Second year
in a row, he's won this one.
So yeah, he comes out strong. And he beat El Bombolero Bloodlines by 39.44, an absolute crushing defeat. Really sets the tone for the whole season here. Alec, $25 coming your way. Very exciting. And I don't know if that was.
Go ahead. We don't do that very often.
No, pretty good. I mean, this is season 6, episode 3, Michael.
That's true. That's true. We're almost going to hit we won't hit 100 episodes this season, but we're getting there. The win by Alec also signified the first person off of the island. That is Brendan Fitzgerald, leaving the island. Sorry to see you go. Also, I believe my pick to win the division this year. So not off to a great start there, if I'm recalling that correctly. Fitz's team just did not show up this week. It was disappointing performances pretty much across, well, not across the board. His kind of, I guess, his big stud showed out a little bit in CeeDee Lamb. Chase Brown had a decent week, but Joe Burrow, nothing going in that Bengals offense. Devontae Smith.
Shocking. Yeah. That was a shot.
Devonta Smith, nothing going there in a Philly offense that ran the ball really well, but did not pass. Jameson Williams with poor showing. That I'm sure has some people with a lot of JMO stock this year. A little reticent about that Detroit Lions offense without one Ben Johnson. But we'll see if Fitz can bounce back. I think.
Yeah, I have a feeling this will be the low part of his season, right? I don't see many of those guys repeating this performance, and quite a few teams that are kind of known for slow starts. And so, I have confidence in Fitz, but also noting that, yes, you did pick him to win the division. I picked Josh, who lost to Duncan, to win the division. So
there you go.
Hot start.
Great start for that division. All right. A lot of news around the league, not the RTFL, the NFL. We will get to some RTFL news. There's some big waves were made today. But around the league, Tyreek Hill news breaks today that he's under investigation now by the league for domestic violence. Not terribly surprising. Doesn't sound like there's any suspension being handed down imminently, but we will await that news. Some big injuries. Quite a few people getting injured this week. Some of them, so you put it on the rundown, you've got Kittle. Kittle was injured. He's on IR, right? He's going to be out for a while.
Yeah.
Purdy gets banged up. So we'll see what that does to that 49ers offense.
Sounds like he's not likely to play. And so there's going to be a Mac Jones sighting. Is what I had read.
Well, Mac Jones, propped up my boy BTJ last season. So Worthy goes out immediately in the first game of the season for the Chiefs. But beyond that, you've also got guys like Brock Bowers getting banged up. Should be okay, but gets banged up in his game, has to leave the game. Drake London, pretty banged up. Raheem Morris came out today, said that he expects him to play, but he's not guaranteeing it. He's not sure. So, but we'll see. I mean, I think, some of these are some big name injuries that could impact some teams.
Yeah. I think it's, we're getting into it now, right? I think, we're going to see which RTFL teams have the depth to manage some of these injuries, and which teams are going to be looking at potentially some low scores. Which brings us to the waiver wire, right? We had a couple
one more injury I forgot to mention, and I don't know what the update is on this, but Juwan Jennings injured as well. That 49ers offense in, CMC might be the healthiest person out there. Who saw that coming?
Yeah, he also had 31 touches.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
What?
Absolutely bonkers.
I signed up for this though. Yeah.
To go through all that, and then he plays a great game, 31 touches, and you still lose. So,
everyone's happy.
Yeah. All right. Waiver wire. Let's hit the waiver wire.
Well, only one person hit the waiver wire, and that was Kelly. Kelly went hard.
Yeah.
She did have a bit of a bidding war with Duncan for QJ, and ended up getting a 15, and then picked up Calvin Austin on her Steelers for 15. He looked pretty good. Rodgers looked great. I mean, 4 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers in that game against the Jets. So I think there's some promise there. So Kelly, goes after hard because she did get She had Worthy knocked out, right? And then I think she had another injury on her bench too. But
yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. We will take a look. Let's take a look at Kelly's
Kirk,
team.
then Christian Kirk, and then who was injured already, and then she dropped Leggett this week, who just had an absolute dud of a game, but so did the whole Carolina Panthers. So, I think she is.
Yeah, Kelly picks up Austin, picks up Johnston, who both had great games last week. I mean, do these change your opinion of Kelly's team? When we first discussed Kelly's team, I believe we talked about how, the concern is basically it's top heavy with Henry and Williams, and there's just not much after that. You're right, Worthy down. Joe Mixon on IR. Does this move the needle for you? Do either of those pickups move the needle for you in terms of Kelly's team?
I mean, they're good depth. Like, I think Calvin Austin could be a pretty big contributor on that Steelers, and that's his wide receiver core. Given that there's, DK Metcalf and then who, to compete for those second touches. But QJ, I feel like he has these games where he has big games, and then he disappears for a little while. And I think you can see more of that with Ladd and Keenan Allen. But, Quentin Johnston's also the only big guy there running and going up for those contested catches and having the body to do that. Whereas, Ladd, smaller guy, Keenan Allen, old. So, we could see that like third year jump for Quentin Johnston. It's not unheard of. It could happen, assuming his, stone hands, have been worked out. We've seen that before, where a player who had previously a lot of drops, figures it out. So it could be the sneaky pick of the year, right? It could be that pickup. The other big concern for Kelly's team that I, noticed that she didn't pick up a tight end. It sounds like Dallas Goedert's going to be out too. I read something that he's pretty banged up too. A knee sprain. I imagine at age 30 that keeps him out. And so she has Dalton Kincaid as the backup tight end. I don't know how he did on Monday.
He had a good game. I mean, really on the back of a touchdown that, and this is the problem with Dalton Kincaid, and really maybe just about everybody in that Bills offense, although, both of their receivers kind of showed out, but they put up a ton of points the last game. And I think part of the problem with anybody in that Bills offense, though, is, if they don't get a touchdown, the ball is spread around so much that if you're not Josh Allen, there's a chance you walk out of the game with 5 points or 6 points. Or, if you're Dalton Kincaid, there's a chance you walk out of the game with like 3 points, depending on how the game's going. So I think that type of game has proven to be the ceiling of Dalton Kincaid. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Kincaid turns out to be a stud this year. He was certainly projected that out of college. They drafted him high enough. Was a guy that was really talked up. So, those two pickups don't move the needle too much for me on Kelly's team. I, still think she's going to ride or die by Derrick Henry and Williams to a lesser extent, but we'll see where it goes. I play Kelly this week in, I think, which should be a good matchup. And speaking of the matchups this week, so through an odd quirk of scheduling, every 1-0 team plays each other, and every 0-1 team plays each other.
I was gonna ask, did like the schedule change? Like, did Sleeper like?
No, the first 2 weeks are always the same, or the first 3 weeks are always the same. I don't know.
I just saw that earlier. I was like, this is crazy that it's all 1-0 versus 1-0 and 0-1 versus 0-1.
I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, I think it just worked out that way, but it's going to result in three. There's going to be a quarter of the league that's 2-0. Half the league will be 1-1, and half that quarter of the league will be 0-2. So there will be some separation in the divisions, which I wonder, does that? It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out coming out of this. But let's get to the big move, I think, of the day, really. Steve has made 2 trades. They've been, I think, are they the only 2 trades that have gone through so far this year?
Since the draft, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say Steve is our content machine right now. This guy is just pumping it out for us, and we so much appreciate it, Steve.
Very much so. Very much so. He keeps. He does a great job of keeping the group chat alive. Throwing, just like Kramer, Steve, not afraid to throw a video in there. Not afraid to throw a Blue Sky link in there.
Yeah, thank you for throwing Blue Sky links in, by the way, unlike the Peter throwing in X links.
Yeah. Or a Blue Sky link.
It's like light versus dark right now with Steve and Peter. But yeah, what a trade. Kind of out of nowhere. Initial reaction, Mike?
Well, so just to lay it out for those on audio, Calvin Ridley and Kenneth Walker go to Steve and the Blue Barracudas. The Peter receives Zay Flowers and Quinshon Judkins, who recently signed running back by the Cleveland Browns, has yet to practice this year. I know that Steve laid out an explanation in the group chat. I don't get it. I really don't. I thought Steve had settled on a direction, and now it's kind of, I don't see how this makes Steve's team significantly better for this year. And I think in the long run, it hurts him. Calvin Ridley, is not going to be a keepable player next year. I also just don't see him being a guy that's going to fetch big auction dollars later in the season in a trade. I mean, Cam Ward looked terrible this week. Really bad. So, and that's not to say that Calvin Ridley is not going to have an okay season. He's had an okay season most of his career. But the other part of it is the Kenneth Walker piece that, Zach Charbonnet, I think, out-touched him in the last game. Or it was at least
Jake
50
was
50 split.
Yeah, Jake threw some stats into the chat saying that Charbonnet had 58% of the touches and Walker at 40%. So I don't know. I mean, I think Walker's the better running back there for sure. But was that the best running back he could have gotten for Zay Flowers and Judkins? I don't know. I mean, I think, giving it another week or two. I mean, obviously he needs a running back now. His running back situation is abysmal. And he called that out himself, and rightfully so. But I think that, there was potential other options maybe out there for him, right? I mean,
I
we
agree.
would have to go through, but I think it would be maybe even shopped around a bit more, right? So
if this is a rebuilding year for Steve, I think you wait. But I don't know. Maybe Steve is looking at the division. Maybe he assesses it differently than I do. Maybe he thinks if he's a piece or two away from having a shot at it, and so you're going for it. But I don't see how this provides much long-term stability for him, or makes his team all that much better in the long term. Kenneth Walker was drafted for $23 this year. I think that's a fair price for him, but he's a guy that may not be the starter there by the end of the season. So that's my concern. And so let's put pause on Steve's team. Let's look at the Peter, because actually, I think this takes Steve, who I think we agree had probably the worst running back room in the league. I think that might fall to Peter now. Peter's got a lot of potential in his running back room, but I think right now, I mean, his running back room worries me. You've got Hampton, who, he didn't blow anybody's tits.
Wasn't great
last game. You've got Chubb, who, again, decent yards per carry numbers, but played 50% of the snaps. I don't know how long he holds up. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then on his bench, he's basically got everybody's backup, and then added Judkins. So I don't know. For Peter, Zay Flowers, I think, is an interesting piece, but he's also a pretty hot and cold receiver. At least he has been in the past, and he plays on what I think is one of the best running teams in football, and a team that should be pretty good this year. So to me, I mean, Peter's got a great wide receiver core on his team, but I don't know. I don't know if this is something I do if I'm him either.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I mean, getting Zay Flowers to stack with Lamar Jackson. Obviously, I think that's a great stack to have. But yeah, like you said, they will be running the ball quite a bit. And then, yeah, I think if Peter can weather the storm until, let's say he ends up 3-3 going into week 6, and you're looking at, I mean, unfortunately, I think Breece Hall looked great. I think Breece Hall looked pretty good on against the Steelers, and so I think he's going to retain his job. But Blue was a healthy scratch from that game. That said, I don't think that there's any world where Rico Dowdle continues to be the RB2 there later into the season. I think Blue could end up at RB2, and then I think very much he could end up as an RB1 at some point in the season with Williams' injury history and just kind of lack of holding up. So that could happen, but he's already suspected to be inactive in week 2. So you're looking at another.
Schottenheimer came out today, I believe, and said basically we haven't seen enough from Blue to give him playing time, but he's got to earn his spot. and he hasn't done it yet. That's
It's not
concerning
encouraging.
to
Yeah,
me.
that's not. He was injured. Wasn't he injured for most of training camp?
He may have been. I agree with your assessment on Allen. Like Allen gets in the end zone, but he didn't really do anything with the ball. Limited attempts, but he didn't have a good game. He'd have less than 1 point if it weren't for that 1 yard touchdown run. And then Tootin, didn't play much, got a couple carries, but they trade away Tank and ETN. ETN looked pretty great.
God, crazy. He had 143 yards. I mean,
he looked amazing.
9 yards per carry.
So I don't know if I'm Peter, I'm a little concerned about my running backs. But that said, we just talked about, how we didn't think Ken Walker was much of a move the needle guy for Steve's team. So, I don't know how much that changes. At least now Peter's got a guy like Judkins who could, he could be anything at this point. He's $12, so he's a guy you could keep on a pretty good deal going forward.
Yep.
We'll see. Honestly, I don't even know who to say. I guess I would say Peter won the trade, but to me, I think it's a fairly even trade. I just don't quite understand it from Steve's perspective.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much better each team got, but that's remains to be seen. But I think both people are okay with the trade, so that's a win-win. I think I don't know if we're going to see much movement, right? Like, is this going to affect their total points for over the course of the season? I'm not sure.
Not sure either. All right.
I like it. I like the trading. I like it.
Let's do a quick roundup of week 1 right here. So I took down Jake.
Bet on yourself.
No sweat. Wasn't worried at all, which is not true. But I took down Jake, on Monday night, basically with a decent game from Justin Jefferson to put me over the edge. Ken came out swinging, got pretty good games all around, put up 112 points and beats the Peter. I think Ken's got to be pretty happy with the way his team started. Good performances. And we talked about, I think I mentioned in one of the shows, I thought the key to Ken's team was Breece Hall, and Breece Hall looked great. So, if that continues going forward, he's...
Yeah, I agree. I think that he saw some down games, relatively speaking, from a few of his players, Gibbs and Neighbors, but then didn't see any of the major booms either from his other players, and so I think the potential going forward for Ken is just really high, given
Agreed.
This might be some of the lowest scores he sees from some of these players, the rest of the season. So a little terrifying, but I thought it was really great.
Yeah. Doug comes out, gets a squeaker of a win against you. Again, Bijan kind of carries him there. Bijan has a big day. Not too much else cooking on his roster. Pearsall played well. But I think outside of that, it was kind of it was the Bijan Robinson show for Doug, who carried him over the finish line.
Yeah, I fully regret, some of my choices, and I do feel like this is one I should have gotten in the W column. CJ Stroud just looked awful again. I think his rookie year is just a
Yep.
mirage.
An aberration.
An aberration, yeah. And I think otherwise, not investing in a better tight end, obviously. So I'm playing the tight end carousel now. But I feel pretty good. Wouldn't have started Keon Coleman necessarily over any of my other wide receivers to start the season, but feel pretty good about that performance for him. So we'll see what happens going forward. I don't think I'm out of it by any means, but tough loss to old Dougie to start.
No, I agree.
Battle of the younger bros.
The running backs on your bench are terrible.
Yeah, it's not great. That's why I couldn't trade with Steve. I was like, I have literally nothing to give you. That is,
Yeah.
Unless you're giving me Nico Collins, I'm not good.
You better hope CMC doesn't get hurt. Jesus. All right. We've talked about Steve's team, but Steve with the loss, Kelly with the big win. We've also talked about Kelly's team a bit. This is a big start for Kelly. She overcomes Xavier Worthy going down, overcomes a dud from Thielen, and really just, Derrick Henry. This is a Derrick Henry show. Brings her to victory, which I think is a big win for Kelly to kind of get off on the right foot there with that team. We've talked a little bit about Duncan's team and his victory. Josh, this is a game that Josh wins if Jamar Chase has anywhere approaching a normal day for him. Even just like a mediocre day.
That like Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, and Terry McLaurin combined put up 8.6 points.
Yeah.
Combined. Jamar Chase, Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown. 8.6 points. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I mean, it's going to be the lowest. Those are the lowest scores for sure that any of those guys will be putting up all season. But, that could be the best wide receiver core in the league. And, it is just abysmal. So,
yeah.
The big issue, I think, for Josh moving forward is potentially his running back situation with it sounds like James Cook has a hamstring injury. So when you remove him from there, then you're starting DeAndre Swift or potentially Charbonnet. So maybe there's there, but
or his boy Javonte Williams.
Oh yeah, right over that.
We'll see what happens in Dallas.
Yeah, consult the crystal ball, choose which one's gonna hit the pay dirt. So you and Josh should be talking. Josh needs another wide receiver, maybe on his bench. You need another running back, maybe on your bench. You guys should be chatting about some of these guys. Well, West Coast.
There you go. The last game of the week, we talked Alec and Fitz already. Alec, again, gets the blowout on the back of Josh Allen. And Fitz just, really tough day all around for him outside of CD Lamb. Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing here is that, Alec, 40 points from Josh Allen, that's going to, that's going to make up for a lot of duds than the rest of the roster there. So saving Alex week and of course saving, Ken's sanity Sunday night. So that was huge. So
Agreed. Let's look ahead real quick. We'll spotlight two matchups here. The first one, a 1-0 versus 1-0 matchup. Duncan versus Alec. John, who you got in this matchup?
It's a tough one. I mean, both claiming to be dads here. I think Alec's gonna keep it rolling though. I think the Bills are playing the Jets, and I think Josh Allen is going to put an absolute beat down on them. And who doesn't love to beat the Jets? So I'm going to take Alec here. I think he's going to have a bit of a bounce back game from some of his other players. Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy. He's got Tyler Warren in there. Who's going to, I think have another good game after his debut. So
I am going to go the other way. I'll take Duncan here, really because I think the Denver offense bounces back this week. I think Bo Nix picks it up a little bit, and he gets a big week out of that Nix Sutton stack to help bring him to victory. But I also like. Unfortunately, my other fear is that Detroit is going to blow the Bears out, and David Montgomery is just going to run roughshod over the Bears. But we'll see. I don't know. Okay.
We don't need to talk about it.
No, we don't. We don't need to spend any time on it. The other matchup, big matchup this week. The other 1-0 versus 1-0 matchup, the Hoffman brothers playing each other here in week 2. Who do you got, Chad?
I think it's going to be Ken. I just don't see this team putting up duds very often. Ken was pretty shrewd last season and in the off season to build this team out. Assuming Brock Bowers is healthy, going into the game, plays a full game. It's hard because I think there's some really good matchups, just like positional matchups going on here. I think that Hurts Daniels matchup is going to be good. I think Daniels has, a better game than last week. Although, the Green Bay defense did pretty well last week. And then the running back matchups are good. And then, Bowers versus McBride. I think I'll still go Ken. I think, he's the odds-on favorite here.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against Ken in this battle. I'm not going to do it. I do think Ken comes away with it here. Couple things worrisome on Doug's side. Even though they're playing New Orleans, if Purdy doesn't play and there's nobody else on that offense, I would be worried about what Parcells puts up on Sunday, but we'll see.
Wide receiver core for Doug is quite concerning. Just lost him.
Well, I guess we are both going with Ken. All right. We did it.
That's it. Yeah, I think
sweet in the books. Short and sweet this week. But I mean, I'm just excited that we're back. We're heading into week 2. Feels like we're in the swing of things now. Looking forward to it.
Yep, me too. I think we're gonna have another great week. Hopefully we see some really good NFL matchups tomorrow night. We've got Green Bay and Washington going, right? I think it'll be a good Thursday night matchup to start the week off. We'll set the tone.
All right. That's going to do it for Brother John. I am Mike, and this has been another episode of the Rose Tackle Football Show.
In Ben Johnson we trust.